What's up everybody, this is Danny, and today I'm going to be doing one big camera comparison between the brand new Huawei P40 Pro, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and also the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. So there's not going to be as many shots this time because I'm trying to stay safe. I'm limiting my time out, so I just want to do this for about a half an hour or so while I'm going for a walk. I'm going to take some pictures. Let me know which video looks better, let me know which audio sounds better, and then we're going to see which one of these three cameras is going to be the king of cameras in 2020. Everybody stay safe. Let's start with the daytime pictures. All of these images were captured in auto mode to make things fair. The P40 Pro and the S20 Ultra both have Pro modes built in, so if you have time to tune for that perfect shot, you definitely can. This comparison is neat because all three cameras do a fantastic job with colors, dynamic range, and sharpness, so you can't go wrong with any of these, but they do have different characteristics, so let me break those down. After looking at all these pictures side by side, I think a lot of this will be personal preference. In some shots, these three will produce very similar pictures where the differences are negligible, but in some shots, you can really tell the difference. When it comes to blue sky rendition and colors, they do vary on which one hits with the most accuracy, but most of the time, the Huawei P40 Pro does the better job. This is how I was seeing it with my own eyes, so I'm glad that Huawei improved this on the last several releases. The biggest difference that you might see is the white balance between them. Sometimes they just land totally different depending on the situation. Sometimes the iPhone does a better job with translating the warmer tones that are naturally there, where the two others land toward the cooler tones. So in some situations, I like the iPhone better. But if I had to generally speak, I think that the P40 Pro does the best with the overall white balance and color rendition, which is a big leap for Huawei in their processing. When it comes to dynamic range, it does go back and forth. Smart HDR on the iPhone does a great job with harsh lighting like the sun here, but look at the Galaxy S20 Ultra handling the sun like a boss, creating the best looking photo in this scenario. So like I said, I think a lot of this will be personal preference. In macro shots, you can see the sensor size difference right away with the amount of depth of field. Look at the Huawei and the Samsung, it shows. It's a mix up how I feel about this because I love the insane depth of field, but in shots like this, smaller sensors can keep more of the subject in focus. So once again, it depends on what you like, but I do have to say that the latest S20 Ultra software has improved this quite a bit, so kudos to Samsung on this. I think here in this difficult shot, the Ultra took the best picture with the most depth of field, so I would love to keep seeing improvements on this as sensor sizes increase. When it comes to portrait mode shots, they are excellent with edge detection and background blur. Here's a good example of the white balance and contrast differences between the three. The iPhone and the Ultra crop in heavily using this mode, but the Huawei uses the wider angle by default, but you can zoom in if you like to get a different focal length. Here in this shot, you can see the iPhone just missing the pattern inside altogether, where the other two got it no problem. But I do like the way that the Huawei looks in this scenario. The background blur isn't as heavy, but it's more realistic. Here's a portrait mode shot where it's a good example of overall balance. All three shots look great, but look at the harsher lighting that is present on my shirt. It's handled worse by the S20 Ultra, where the iPhone is somewhere in the middle, but the Huawei, it's perfectly balanced. Really impressed here. The P40 Pro and the S20 Ultra both have super high resolution camera sensors, but surprisingly, the iPhone holds up extremely well with just a straight up 12 megapixel shot. In some cases with the texture, it even beats out the Huawei in certain scenarios. This is a 10x crop test, but look at the Ultra here, just razor sharp with the most detail. When looking at the shot, I was very impressed by the iPhone. When you crop in 10 times, the fence looks surprisingly clear. When it comes to landscape shots, here is a great example. Look at how far I was away from this building. 50 megapixels on the Huawei, 100 megapixels on the S20 Ultra. When cropping into this balcony 20 times, you can see that the image is sharper on the S20 Ultra, but there is some over sharpening happening here. Look at the chair where the Huawei has uniform color and processing across the chair. This is very impressive, and I know that you won't be cropping in this far, but this is just for the sake of showing you the difference in camera processing. All three of these smartphones have a different skin tone rendition. The iPhone surprisingly has the most saturated and unrealistic skin tone rendition out of the three. The S20 Ultra still seems to be brightening the skin the most, but I know some people prefer this, and I don't blame you at all. But I think the P40 Pro has the best overall balance of actual skin tone and brightness on the rear camera. But then when you switch it over to the front-facing camera, it changes to be the opposite. The skin is brightened to give you a more vibrant look. So in terms of overall balance, I like the S20 Ultra's front-facing camera shots the best. So let me know which one that you like better in the comment section below. But damn, the iPhone shots just consistently look the worst in my opinion. I'm very surprised by this test. The iPhone 11 Pro Max doesn't have crazy zoom features, but the P40 Pro and the S20 Ultra both do. I went to 10x zoom since that's what the iPhone is able to do digitally. And the results are sharper on the S20 Ultra on the edges, but more detail on the P40 Pro. Just look at the bird here. But in this water fountain scenario, the P40 really took it. Take a look at the trees and the overall image. It's much sharper and more detailed overall. So they do go back and forth. I had to throw this one in there. I was walking by a pond and I thought I saw a gator in there. So this is a perfect scenario of the zoom. At 10x zoom, you really couldn't tell. But with the 30x zoom, it's confirmed that it is a gator. But look at how impressive that 30x zoom is on the P40 Pro. You can clearly see the ridges on the back of that alligator. The S20 Ultra, you can also see that it's a gator as well. It's just not as clear. But the S20 Ultra has a 100x zoom. So here's that oil painting. I'll definitely compare the 100x zoom when the P40 Pro Plus comes out later this summer. When it comes to video, they all can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. I think that's a first for Huawei, but the Galaxy S20 Ultra can shoot up to 8K resolution, so that is insane for a smartphone. All of these again have different color renditions, so let me know which one that you like best. But if I had to pick one, I like the S20 Ultra's video the most in this scenario. When it comes to stabilization, they all have optical image stabilization and do a great job, but it looks like the Huawei is picking up more of the bounce in my walking, but I think that has a lot to do with the wider field of view since it uses the wide angle camera. The Huawei uses optical image stabilization and electronic stabilization at the same time. Dropping it to 1080p, all three again with nice stabilization, but the S20 Ultra is the only one with super steady stabilization, which is great if you don't mind dropping to 1080p. Following my son while running, you can see just how smooth the S20 Ultra's video is. It looks like it's on a gimbal, which is insane, while the other two shake quite a bit. So this is a really impressive feature. I usually don't do autofocus tests, but the Huawei, even with the largest sensor out of the three, has octa-PD autofocusing, which does a great job with focusing on the sanitizer and locking on without pulsing. And yes, the Ultra is running the brand new firmware for autofocus fixes, but in my testing, the video focusing actually got worse. A lot of times I can't get it to lock on, and if it does lock on, it won't refocus back to the background. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and in this case, it didn't work. So I hope this is fixed soon. I think the iPhone still has the faster autofocus out of the three, but the Huawei is impressive since it has the largest sensor and doesn't show the AF problems that the Samsung exhibits. So let's get to the low light performance. I took a lot of these shots, one with and one without night mode, so you can see the difference. The P40 Pro has the largest sensor and it shows by letting in the most light. It usually creates the brighter picture overall, especially in just regular mode or single snap. But I do want to see better noise control overall on the Huawei shots. The other two are much cleaner, especially in the sky. And I'm sure a lot of this can be fixed with future software updates. This would probably be my biggest complaint about the P40 Pro's processing. This and the bias towards cool on white balance on the non-night mode pictures. When you do night mode, it does warm it up quite a bit. You can see this trend basically in every scenario. It gives the image a washed out look, but if you do edit the picture, you can lose a lot of that, but this is a pure auto test. In terms of detail, the S20 Ultra and the P40 Pro capture the most detail in night mode, but I know people always get upset about the statement, but I still think that the iPhone creates the most natural night mode shots. It brightens the image, adds sharpness, and pumps up the saturation, but I still feel like it has the best balance. If anything, the Ultra oversaturates the most, and in some scenarios, it just comes out way too warm and way too saturated for my liking. The other two cameras definitely have an advantage when it comes to harsher lighting. Look at this GE sign. The iPhone could not get that. But once again, I think all of this depends on what you want out of night mode and what you like. So again, this is going to be personal preference. Wide angle though is not even a contest. The iPhone cannot do night mode in wide angle, so it just looks pitiful. it's soft and unusable most of the time. Nighttime selfies in just regular mode, the P40 takes it. It's the sharpest and has the best detail with the best skin tone rendition, very impressive. But the P40 Pro and the S20 Ultra have night modes on the front camera, which make all the difference. Here is an indoor example. I'm in a super dark bathroom and you can see that the iPhone just cannot handle it. The noise is insane. Night mode on both help a ton, but the Ultra is sharper here with more detail. But the P40 Pro has a mode where you can use the screen to illuminate your face while taking a shot along with night mode, and this works very well if you like that look. The others have a screen flash too, but doesn't work the same and it has more noise in the shot. Nighttime 4K video has come a long way on mobile phones. It shows here, but the Huawei is really impressive on the clarity. The video is very smooth and fluid and has to be one of the cleanest nighttime videos that I've ever seen in terms of noise. I wanted to test this in trickier lighting with mixed lighting, and in terms of the lighting around the tree, the iPhone does a great job in showing that detail, so the dynamic range is great. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, the Ultra is doing the worst with the noisiest video. So I'm really excited because this is a big leap in nighttime video, and with a little bit of tuning and some added sharpness, the P40 Pro night video can change the game. I know this comparison was a little bit different with less images, but I still wanted to get as in-depth as I could. So let me know which camera took it in the comment section below. I said this earlier, and I think a lot of this is going to be preference-based. Technically, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. During the day, the P40 Pro has made major leaps with color and skin tone rendition. The zoom clarity and the flexibility are also nice to have. The iPhone is always consistent. You know exactly what to expect with that camera, and the Ultra is getting better with software updates, but that video autofocusing needs some major work. I think once Huawei tunes the nighttime shots and balances them a little bit better, this could be my favorite camera so far in 2020 because that nighttime video is impressive. It's nice to see them listen to the customer feedback and improve on their camera system. So let me know which one you think took it in the comment section below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more content just like this, and I will see you in the next one.